Let's do
Yep.
this. Inhale. Take a break if you need it. Keep going if you can. It's gonna burn like hell. We have six more. 4, 5, 6. Inhale, press up, and just kind of do a forward fold for a second. Bend your knees if you need to. Oh, okay, back to seated. How do you feel?
I feel some burnage in my legs.
So the idea there is to bring the energy down to get into the lower part of your body. Um, and every time I do that, I just like instantly feel grounded. And yeah, I thought it would be cool to start that way.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I loved it.
So where do we
Awesome.
begin? Like there's so much to talk about. I feel like I discovered you on Substack obviously, and I've loved your work and I relate to so much of what you've written. And it just feels like when we connected, I'm like, this just feels like an old friend. Like I just feel like it's gonna be just very easy to talk to you.
I hope so. I feel like that too. I mean, where to start? With the spouses of ours, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. How long were you guys married?
We were married for 16 years, and then we were separated for just over a year at the end. Yeah, 16 years. How about you guys?
I think it was like 7 years.
Hmm.
Our wedding anniversary is actually tomorrow. Um, so that's always fun. But yeah, I saw this coming because of during our relationship, like I think his first kind of suicidal episode was like not even a year in. And we were together for almost 10 years. And so, the whole time we were married, this was present, you know? So I don't know if that was similar to what you experienced.
Well, it wasn't. I wanted to ask you. I mean, do you look back on like looking back on the earlier points in your relationship, like looking back on it with the benefit of hindsight, and see it very differently? See at least some things very differently than you did, because I certainly do. Like things
So
that
much.
I thought, yeah, like things I thought were one offs, or like I wanted I wanted everything to be good. Like in our I was a lot younger, and I just there's so many good things that I there's a lot, but there's a lot of things, like a lot of things like red flags or whatever that, yeah, I just wasn't able to, or wasn't willing to put the pieces together.
Yeah, it's funny, I was reflecting on this before our call and, um, starting to write something for tomorrow and just, like, I've always been or I thought I always was a very, like, optimistic person and, like, always, like, hoped the best was still coming, but I think that's a trauma thing,
Mm,
like, when you're in it with someone and you're just like, "It's gonna get better. It's okay. It's gonna get better." I don't know if you had that because I did read something
oh
before
yeah.
we dropped on the call where it's like you had a good upbringing, you had a solid family, and it's like you couldn't really relate to some of the things that your wife had gone through. Um, but I was when we met and all this stuff started happening, I was like, "It's okay. It's okay. Like this is just like a little blip and it'll be fine." Like it was always like, "It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine." And it was never fine. You
Mhm.
know? Like
Yeah.
just never fine.
Yeah, I think too, what you were saying too. I think what I would do is, I mean, you I think 2 things that I experienced. One is you forget what normal it's amazing how quickly you can forget what normal is. So it's like sometimes I remember people would like when all these things were happening, our lives were disintegrating. I mean, I knew that it was totally fucked up. Like it was just, but even still, I almost could not appreciate how bad things had gotten somehow because it was had been so long since anything had been normal that I almost forgot what that was like. So my frame of reference became different, you know. And so I don't know. It's like I couldn't
Yeah.
see. But then yeah, and then I forget what the other thing I was going to say was, but yeah, it's very easy to get. And but people would tell me like, dude, this is like, what the hell,
No,
you know?
I still don't know what's normal. Like,
Mm.
I write and I'm like, this is just what happened in my life. And people are like, oh my God. And like, I'm like, really? Is it really that bad? And it's like, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Like people often tell me, like, when they know the whole story, it's like you've lived a horror movie. It's like you've just lived a horror movie. And I'm sure you can relate to that. But yeah, like, do you feel like that's like you're remarried? Do you
Mm.
feel like your feet have kind of landed and I hate to use the word normal, but like you're living a more normal existence now, like or healthier existence?
Well, my daughter died 3 years ago, so not really. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, like as far as my marriage goes, for sure. I mean, um, but yeah, I mean, oh, I guess the other thing I wanted to say was that um, I think when things are at least for me, anyways, when they were very bad, and I mean, just to not maybe I'll just give some details, just so I'm not speaking in like these vague terms, just so people can understand. But my wife Cindy was a police officer, Ontario Provincial Police, and she, yeah, I mean, she had when we were young, we moved in together when we were like 20, I think. And I remember coming home one day and she wouldn't it was I think our second apartment, some little basement apartment. And I went and the door was locked and she wouldn't let me in to the house. And so or in the apartment. And anyways, what happened was I said, come on, like what the hell? Like let me in. So she lets me in. She opens a door with the chain, just like, like looks through it. And I said, what is going on here? And she goes, she said, I puke, is what she said. And I'm like, what? I don't even know. Like, literally, I did not even know what that meant. I mean, I was so naive because I think I was 19 actually. And anyways, so it turns out she'd been really struggling with bulimia. Now, as a young person, like, oh yeah, and it had gotten very bad, like, because just shortly before we moved in together, to the point where she was hospitalized, and I literally thought that she just wanted to be skinny. That was my
Mhm.
the complete shallowness of my 19-year-old understanding. Why would else would someone do that? Like the idea that it could be related to like horrific childhood trauma that they never
Mhm.
that was not part of my experience. So I just thank God for me. I mean, but so anyways, over the years, there's other like, red flags and stuff, but ultimately then Cindy suffered brutal just childhood trauma, sexual abuse and stuff. And then as many people are who are traumatized or victimized, they often find themselves called towards helping professions, whether it's like first responders or nursing. Yeah. And then you have this unresolved wounds from the past, and then you get re-traumatized on the job. And anyway, so after the birth of our second daughter, things had started to go south after the birth of our first daughter, actually, but like there was a very small space between them. We got pregnant like really quick. And so but after the second birth of our second daughter, I mean, her basically the next 5 years were just complete hell. I mean, like we're talking homeless shelters she ended up in, rehab, like psych wards, or like getting electroshock therapy.
Can I pause
Like
you
all,
for 1 second?
yeah,
When you say she ended up in a homeless shelter, but you were still married?
so she had one of the times in one of her manic episodes, she just decided we had so we had two kids. Our younger daughter was not even one. And, she just got cau like, she got this idea in her head that she had to move 3 hours away for some reason. So she just packed up all her shit and moved 3 hours away. And, like and then during that time, yeah, like, I mean, the amount I drove, like, trying to find her, like, I mean, it was crazy, but, so it was just a and, to her everlasting credit, I mean, she tried everything, like,
Mhm.
every single thing. I'm talking, psychologists, psychiatrists, programs, medication, like yoga, different groups, like all of these things. I mean, and nothing worked. Like, and it just kept getting worse. And so, yeah, ultimately in 2010, she took her own life. Um, and I always tell people, like, I do not think that if I because I did not in any way understand the inconsolable mental anguish that that somebody can experience just from their tortured mind and body. And
But what
um,
made you understand it? Like, do you think you even have understood it? Because I still don't understand it. Like, my husband never got an official diagnosis,
mm,
and I can speculate because I knew him very well, but, like, I don't know if I'm sure it sounds like you've gotten to this place where you understand her suicide. I understand my husband's suicide.
mm,
Like, I
yeah,
understand why he did it, and I'm glad I've gotten to that place, but, like, I don't have not that I need a diagnosis, but, like, there's still so much, like, I can't relate to, so it's so hard for me to, like, really understand because I don't have that mind, and I'm
mm,
thankful I don't have that mind, but, like, do you get where I'm going with that?
yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, I do. I mean, I suffered. I mean, from some pretty serious addiction issues. So I don't understand. It's not the same thing, but I understand the feeling of not being in control, of like feeling like I'm not in control of my mind. So no, I mean, but to be fair, I mean, I obviously don't understand her experience. Like I didn't live it like she did. But I mean, I guess what I'm saying is the amount of pain that I witnessed her, that at least I perceived that she was experiencing. If I was experiencing that level, I am almost positive I would not have made it as long as she did. Like it was just hell for
Yeah.
for everybody, but especially for her. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, man, I've read a bunch of your stuff and just putting myself in her shoes, it's a tough life. It's a tough life, and, you almost feel like I don't know if you felt this way, but, like, with my husband, I felt like I was doomed from the beginning because of his past. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like, obviously, things progressed and got much worse, but, like, there was so much there that I didn't really know, and I wasn't
mm,
completely privy to, and you talk about that too, where
yeah.
you didn't see the full picture yet, but, um, like, in retrospect, looking back, it's like, I feel like I was a little bit doomed from the beginning.
Mm. In a sense that the demons from his past were always going to
Yeah.
chase him down. But was he? So I mean, what was your experience like? I mean, what kind of things? I know because I know there was abuse which is horrific. But I mean, I'd love to hear what happened as much as you're willing to share.
It's so strange because, like, I it was very hard for me to find a place to relate to because,
Mm,
I would be in the domestic violence support group and I wouldn't be getting what I needed there because he
mhm,
ended his life. And then I would be in the suicide support group and I wouldn't be getting what I needed because on every call, it's like everyone is just so devastated, rightfully so. But I was also angry, So it's like I felt like I just didn't know where to turn to for support.
mm,
And, like, I mean, how do I say this in, like, a brief way? Like, he met me when I was at the height of, like, my life. Like, I was, like, peak Isabel. I was, like, at the job of my dreams. I was traveling like crazy. I was living in Brooklyn. My company moved me out to LA. I was just running the programming for a yoga and music festival, like, living my best life. And then we met, and I don't know, I was, like, riding this high of my life, and I didn't see some red flags, and, he lived in California.
what are some of the red flags that like you missed early on?
I remember feeling, I've never shared this, but, and I'm okay to share it, but I remember feeling nervous around him all the time. Like,
Mm,
not good nervous, not like butterfly nervous, like, something unsettling. Like, my body was like speaking, and I was anxious. I was really anxious. I even went to see a therapist. I was living in Brooklyn, he was in California. I went to see a therapist about this specifically because we kept meeting in Hawaii and this and that and, like, having these, like, amazing experiences, but obviously feelings were developing strongly, but I couldn't shake this feeling, and so I went to see a therapist about it, and she was like, "If you're not sure by April, I say move on." Like, it was such a weird answer, um, but he one of the red flags was I tried to communicate that to him in person when he was visiting one time in New York, and he just wouldn't hear it. He's like, "I know you love me. I know you love me. I just
mm,
know you love me." And it was just kind of like, I feel like I'm gonna explode inside, and you're just saying, "I know you love me." And it's like, yes, yes, that can be true, and there's, like, this other stuff going on for me. But anyway, so I was living in New York, and then my company, like, was opening a center in, LA, and they wanted to move me out to, like, help with the company culture,
mm,
and he was in Orange County, and when we first met, I was like, "I'm not moving. I'm never gonna move for you. I love my job so much, it's never gonna happen." And then my company literally moved me, and I was like,
nice.
"That's just." Yeah, I'm like, "This is so crazy." And so, anyway, I was working and he was in Orange County, and, like, I just didn't see the despair. I didn't see the despair yet. Like, I remember a couple of times I had an apartment in, like, West Hollywood, and I would drive. No, Los Feliz. I would drive to surprise him. It was like an hour and a half with traffic, and when I would open the door, he would be in the fetal position on his bed, like, just in the fetal position, and then it's like, "Yay, Isabel's here," but, like, what was going on before that, Like,
Mm,
but I was so on this high of my job that, like, I just couldn't, like, I don't know, I was uppity. I was, like,
mm,
excited. I was, like, I finally, like, left Montreal. I, like, sold everything. I quit my job. I bought a one-way ticket. Like, my story before this was so incredible that I was just, like, riding this wave. And so I just wanted to keep riding this wave. And so I guess I just didn't see things. And then it got worse. Like, it just was very apparent. But at the beginning, it's just these little things that you're just like, it's fine, you know?
mm. There's that's really interesting because when things went south with Cindy, when her mental health issues really took over, so we were, I mean, dude, we were set. Like, I was like, we're early 30s, had two a beautiful wife, two beautiful daughters, like, friggin' amazing job, flying all over the world, same thing, like, and, had a house with a pool, and I was like, I remember thinking, "Geez, I got this formula for life figured out." What look at all these other suckers out here, man, who, like, can't get their shit together. I'm dialed in. I'm, like, 32. It's only
Yeah,
uphill from here, and I thought,
yeah.
"Well, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. The houses will get bigger, the cars will get bigger." And, meanwhile, I find myself a few years later in this, like, hellhole of a townhouse. That's another part of the story. But, uh, but I think that one of the things I think that at least was a factor, at least in how I interacted with the world, which might have caused me to, either ignore these red flags or think I had more. I really felt like I was basically the alpha male captain of my destiny, man. I could bend the fucking world to my will here. Nothing's going to derail this
Totally,
train here, so,
totally.
and then, and that's just the time when the universe or God or whatever you believe says, like, you need to learn a lesson here, young man, you know?
Yeah, but you know what? Nobody is immune. Nobody
Yeah.
is immune. No one. And it looks different for everybody, and it's like I'm so grateful that I've gotten to this point where I'm grateful for my struggle, because
Mm,
if it wasn't this, it would be something else. Like, we are
yeah.
not immune, so dive in, and look at it.
Yeah.
But I have to ask you something really hard.
Yeah, sure.
You know, losing your wife is an earth-shattering experience. and then losing your daughter. Like I see why you're meant to be here. Like it's very obvious to me, like the work you're doing. And but my God, like how like I've talked about like what the days after his suicide looked like, but like what did those days look like where you're just like, oh my fucking God, how is this happening? Like I
Yeah.
can't put myself in your shoes. I can't. And I've been in a very dark place, but like, how? Like, how?
Yeah. It's interesting. I guess I'll say my wife's death was like difficult and very impactful, like on me. But my daughter's death is just a different, it's just a completely different thing for me. And not to minimize anybody else's experience. I mean, it's just, but I think what also has made it really, I think, complicated it in some way, if that's the right word, but like, is that the reason my daughter Chloe, so it's coming up on 3 years now, which is freaking unbelievable. To me, it's crazy. Um, but um, but my wife's death is what ultimately my first wife's suicide was ultimately what set off the chain of events that actually ended up in Chloe's death. So because her suicide I always describe it as like shattered Chloe's soul. Like she just was never able to heal. It's like the most
Yeah.
traumatic thing that can happen to a kid at the worst time of her life. Uh and her mom had been very, like I was talking about, like very chaotic in her life. So that, it's just all these things. And so um yeah, I mean, I think it's also interesting because when Cindy died, I thought grief was for weak people. I mean, honestly, like fuck, like the world does not stop turning. Like, and so someone's got to do all the stuff that then you can be done. I guess that's the strong people. That's me, and the weak people will lay on the couch and cry, and that's okay. Like,
Mhm.
but so anyways, this I literally thought this, and so I just kept drinking, and it never. It wasn't so I got remarried to my amazing freaking wife now, and she was like, she ultimately said, "Look, I mean, it's funny. I was talking to her the other day. I was like, you ignored so many red flags when you
Oh my
decided to
God.
marry me. Like, I mean, I was a freaking write off. Anyways, but here we are, still maybe mildly write off. But yeah, I mean, but so anyways, but while I was drinking, it wasn't until I stopped drinking in like maybe 4.5 years after Cindy, my wife, died. And then like maybe 4, 6 months after, I started grieving her death. Like, and I didn't know what was happening. So I thought I was going crazy. I was saying to my wife Tanya, like, do you think this is like I'm writing about her all the time, I'm crying about her, I'm going to visit her grave more often. And I'm like, and no, she just like, you're grieving, dude. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, and so that was literally the first time. Like, it never, while I was drinking, it never occurred to me a single time that the drinking, like my inability to quit drinking, and my wife's like 5 years of mental health issues and suicide, like they were related to each other. That never occurred to me, not once. So
Mm.
yeah, I mean, and I think, oh my god, like I'm not a total dummy. Like think of how many other people must be in that situation, which is what kind of got me going down some of the path I'm on now. Anyway, make a long story short. So I learned all, but then my life took a very different trajectory. I started like just doing all these, speaking, and started a dad coaching program, which we still do to this day. And my life just went a different direction. And so, but when Chloe died, I thank God I had a vastly different set of tools, like skills, like a vocabulary and a willingness to talk about my experience, better friends in my life. But I mean, it's hell. I mean, it's the worst. I mean, so in the days after, literally, so what happened was in the days after, so first of all, I found out it was like I got hit with a taser. But in the days after, I could not give Cindy's eulogy. I just couldn't do it. And I have always wished I had been able to do that. And
Mm.
so in the days after, I was literally basically obsessed with like writing her eulogy. Like that was basically it. I mean, I wrote some things like on Substack, and I wrote something like, like 61 hours after she died or something. But Yeah, it's really hard, and it's just such a complete physical. Yeah, I mean, grief just in general, physical, mental, emotional, psychic, spiritual experience, you know? So, yeah, so
When you were married and things were getting really hard, like, I know you said that you were separated before
mhm.
she died. How long were you separated?
Like, just over a year. The thing is, like, I would not it's really so I've talked to my it's funny, I talked to my wife about this, and we were still married, and I don't think I would have ever like, I would not have gotten back together with her, honestly. And I've said to my wife sometimes, like my wife now, "Should I call her my wife?" And she's like, "Yes, you should, because mental illness killed your fucking wife, man." Like, that's basically what happened, and I never would have moved out if she threw me out of the house. I mean, in like a fit of rage and like whatever. Um, but yeah, we were separated for a year, and the thing is, I knew that I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew it was not going to go well for her. But I mean, because I don't know, if, like maybe this it was similar to your husband, but Cindy, she was either bipolar or borderline personality disorder, but like
Yeah.
she would go from, I mean, the hatred she would have toward me and the things that she would make up, I remember telling me one time, like she basically spent us into bankruptcy, like, or very close to bankruptcy a couple of times. And then she I remember her saying to me one time, just like screaming at me about we had no money because I put all the money in offshore bank accounts. I remember thinking at the time, I wish I had thought of that, or even know that I don't even know how to do that. But I would, God, if I did know how to do that, I would have. But
Oh, no.
yeah, so it was very difficult because her life just continued to spiral out of control. Like, and I don't know if it spiraled any us being together was not helping her. Like, I mean, so I don't know that
Yeah.
us being apart accelerated it, but yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting because my husband used to always say, like, "You are the reason I'm alive all the time, and you're the reason I'm here, you're the reason I was able to go on." But, we lived in Orange County, like I said, and after I mean, I can go back to so many points that I think were the beginning of the end, but, like, when we moved, things accelerated really quickly because he wanted to move, and my family was here, and so, when you have kids, you want to be around your family so that they can love your kids, and there's love around them in so many different ways. But my husband, like, the ocean is what kept him okay for so many years, and then when we moved and he didn't have the ocean, he just, like, isolated himself completely, like,
Mm,
and we ended up buying a house that we didn't see. It was, like, in the country. We had, like, I don't remember if it was 1 acre or just about 2, but anyway, so he bought a sauna, and he would be in the basement for hours and hours, and he would go in the sauna for hours and hours, and just, like, he just progressively just isolated, and there was a horrific incident. I don't even think I've shared this. Um, I don't think I've shared this. There were many incidences where, like, where I called the police, and honestly, like, at the very end, when I had to get restraining order, first of all, I didn't even get my restraining order. The police put a restraining order without even talking to me about it because of what they saw.
mm,
And, I 2 years before I left, my husband like, a few days before, I started feeling I have a very, very strong intuition, and that's one thing that's, like, I'm really grateful for through this whole experience is, like, I have ignored my intuition so much, and it
mm,
saved my life. My intuition saved my life. Um, and I just had a feeling something was off and wrong, and I had my parents come and stay. They booked an Airbnb close to us, and anyway, long story short, he ended up just started I was putting the babies to sleep. We all were sleeping in a king bed together, the boys and I, and I was getting abusive text messages, horrific things. I'm in the woods, okay? I'm in the woods and
Where
there's
where is he
no
right now?
one
Oh,
around.
there's a restraining order. So
No, 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 no. At this point, we are married.
okay,
It's
okay, okay.
2 years before the violence. I say the violence, 2 years before. So this is the first thing that was like, whoa, Isabel, what, like, I don't think you should be here. But it took a longer amount of time for me to, anyway, I'll get there. But he was just sending me atrocious, atrocious texts. And what's crazy is later on, he would go in my phone and delete that part, that moment in
Mm,
time, so that I would never have it. And I don't know how he did that. But anyway, he was just, it was crazy. And then I heard him like come in the house and slam the door, like rage. So I locked the door. And then he came upstairs and he was banging on the door, like, open the fucking door, like scaring the shit out of me. And I called the police and I called my parents. And it was literally a movie. My parents pulled up and I'm like hanging out the window upstairs yelling help to my parents. And my dad comes in and my husband is just like, my dad will say, he's like, he wasn't there. There was something like that was
mm,
completely off. And I packed shit and I left for 6 weeks. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was going on. And he went to see a doctor and he got put on new medication. And there were other episodes like that. Like I'm shaking talking about it still. Like it's so
yeah,
insane.
wow.
Like my jaw chatters. It's like cold. It's such a weird response. Um, but there's so much to the story, but the bottom line is I ended up going back because he took medication and he said, I'm like, he's like, it's a miracle. And so I chose to believe it. And then I slept with a hammer on my nightstand until the night of the violence, where he like got really, really physical with me. And then that was it. I had to go. But that he was struggling with alcohol. He was hiding bottles. The night of the violence, I found two empty bottles of tequila in my car that were not there the day before, and like big ass bottles.
Mm,
And he, it was really scary. It was just so scary. There were so many episodes. Like a couple years before that first one, he was just screaming one time, just like screaming, like, get away from me, like just crazy. And I called the police because I was terrified. And he, it's just, there's so many things. And I'm just like, when you say that, like, years later, you're still grieving and it's still coming out, it's like, I think I haven't even scratched the surface to like, because I'm holding it together now, right? I have two small kids. I'm holding things together. And sometimes I worry. I'm like, what is that going to look like one day? Like, is it going to be like when they all, like when it's an empty nest? Is
mm.
that going to be the time where I'm just going to thaw and fall apart? Like, I have let myself fall apart. I really have, but I don't think it's over. Like, I just don't think it's over. And it kind of scares me a little bit, you know?
Well, what do you mean by fall apart? What does that mean?
Truly grasp what happened to me.
Mm,
When your husband that you've promised your life to puts his hand on your throat to stop you from breathing, there's nothing that anyone can say to me that's going to help me to understand that moment.
mm,
Mental health, there's all those things, but viscerally in my like being, I don't know if I'll ever be able to understand that, you know, in front of my kids, in front of my kids.
how would you know if you did understand it?
Say that, how would I know if I did understand it? What's coming to my mind right now is sitting with someone that can hold a tremendous amount of space for me, um, that can take me through every single story, every single moment, and just like maybe be with me in it from beginning to end.
Mm. You know, one of the things that I'm like when I hear your story, and it's just as a girl dad, I think one of the things my wife, I actually, the more that I've been thinking about this a lot lately, actually, and the she has drilled into me how, and sometimes against my will, but if being completely honest, that
Your
like
wife.
yeah, my current wife has
Yeah.
drilled, like
Yeah.
she has really forced me to have a much better understanding of the the average woman's experience, and even to the point of like, oh, just things I don't even think about, like walking the dog at night and walking down the dark path by myself. I would not even think twice about it. Where my wife would,
Oh
she
no.
would, yeah, or just so. Anyways, it's funny because it's not funny, but I mean, I find as I go through life, and I interact with a lot of men in my business and stuff, and so I just see how oblivious most guys are to the human experience. But the reason I'm saying, or to the average woman's experience, and the reason I'm saying that is because Sydney there was definitely moments of violence uh, for her too. It wasn't certainly wasn't as intense of your experience. But the point is that like she one time opened the shower and I don't remember what it was, whatever the transgression I did, but she was freaking out on me, and she started wailing on me and stuff. But I never felt like my life was in danger. You know what I mean? Like I literally picked
Totally.
her up. And I actually like,
Yeah.
because it happened a few times. I picked her up and I threw her onto the bed and I said, if you don't hit me, please, because if you fucking hit me again, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, please, just don't hit me, man. Like God, And so, but I never felt in danger, And so, I can't even imagine what that would be like. I mean, you just did a pretty visceral job of explaining it, but I mean, fuck, I can't imagine what that would be like.
You know what happens, or what I've heard someone else describe it this way? The moment you know that your life is in danger, everything slows down. And when I think back, I was moving like almost like a robot. It was like, and you're doing things that you wouldn't, like, your mind is shut off. And like, for example, the moment I knew I was in danger, I it's such a, I don't know if you want to call it God, the universe, a higher power. Something was protecting me that night big time, because I had a food delivery service and they came at 10:30 at night. And I used to get so angry about it. I
Mm,
emailed them once and I'm like, "What is this shit?" Like, I have 2 small kids. I literally have to set an alarm to wake up to come and get the groceries and put it away. But on that night,
mm,
I would not have had the strength to go. Like, I mean, I probably like, I shouldn't say that. It would have happened as it would was supposed to happen. But knowing, first of all, I ran outside and begged the man for help because I said, "I'm in trouble." And he said, "Oh, no, 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 no." Like, he did not wanna help, he did not wanna get
mm,
involved, and I'm like, "Don't leave." I was like, "Do not leave." I'm barefoot outside, it's ice under me. I was like, "Do not leave." And then when I went inside, he was in the kitchen. And that's when it just clicked. I just walked to the kitchen, opened the kitchen drawer to grab the keys, and he was right there. It's like it didn't matter what he was doing. My mind was like, "Go, get keys, run upstairs, grab children by the arms, bring them down, grab your purse, run outside, like, it was like boom, boom, start, open the garage. And as I was screaming, the car that I could see it later on the video, the truck was slowly driving away. Like,
mm.
it was just like
Jeez.
and I emailed them, I said, "I might need you to, like, testify." Um, they were just not cooperative at all, but, like, everything slowed down and, like, can I get a little graphic? Like, we haven't really
Please.
trigger warned anything, but Trigger warning. Yeah. But so as I was putting the children in the car, he grabbed my hair and just dragged me across the garage. And even then, I was I was still not sure. Like, I think part of me was still like, "This isn't happening, like, it's
Mm,
gonna be fine." Like, and I was just screaming because he wouldn't let go, and I felt like he was actually ripping all the hair out of my head. And then my son was watching, and he was screaming, and I have a
oh,
video
wow.
of all of this, which is fucking brutal to have, to know that exists.
Mm,
Not a video, like a you can see me leaving the house, but, like, the audio of everything that happened, and it just clicked, like, he was yanking on my hair, and then his hand went on my throat, and that's when I was like, "Oh, fuck. Like, this is fucking serious, like, holy shit." And then I punched him, in the groin, and he let go, and I was able to put my other son in the car, but then he grabbed me again, and, I just was fighting for my life, like, just kicking like, just out of control, and the silent moment is like when like I literally I don't know what I did to get him away. I was able to just slide into the car, close it, lock, and his hand was right there. When you're in fear and you know you're in fear and you're aware, it's like you don't really know, like, ugh, like, but I swear to God, when you're like when you know your life is on the line, 'cause, like, yeah, I just so calmly just locked the door, turned on the car, and went. And I don't know where I started.
did
What were
he
we talking about?
I don't know, that was gripping as hell, though. Jeez, man. Does he try to get like, is this like typical abuse cycle where he then tries like begs to get you back? Did that happen after or?
So, he had a restraining order, and, like, we went to the hospital, and, like, everyone was just handling everything for me because, like, um, they just put a restraining order and this and that, so I just didn't have to do much. I just told them the story of what happened. And so he's not allowed to contact me, but, like, the moment I leave, he cuts me off of all of the credit cards and the bank accounts, done, and which I thought was very telling. Like, it was a little strange to me that that was his first choice. You know what I'm saying? But then from there, he just was, like, emailing my family because he couldn't get in touch with me, and
Mm,
I told my family, like, early on like, right away, I was like, "I want to know nothing. I want to know nothing." Because I it took everything I had to go, that if I hear one thing like, "He's not doing well," like, I don't know what that would do to me. You know what I'm saying?
mhm, mhm, mhm,
So, I think, first of all, I don't give a shit about anyone's opinion because until you've lived what I've lived, you cannot judge anyone. You can't judge me for any decision I made, but from the day I left, I didn't speak to him. Um, I had a lawyer and we wrote a letter. We were like, "We wanna do this amicably." He has a history of contentious, court situations, and so I was like, "Amicable. I'm not trying I just wanna, deal with this and be free of this," you know? Um, do you ever disassociate? I'm totally disassociating right now. I don't
I
even
don't
know what
call
I'm talking about.
I just call it getting old, but so
No, sometimes I
maybe I'll call it disassociate. That actually sounds better than just fucking being
kind
some
of when
kind
you just when you like, you kind of forget what you were saying and where you were going, and, like, you just
Mm,
kinda, like, lose where you are. Um, yeah, I didn't talk to him for 10 months, but he would send emails to friends and he threatened suicide pretty early on, and we all called the police, and they found him, and, um, it was hell. It was
mm,
it was complete hell. It was just hell. Everything about it was hell. It was horrendous.
wow. Do you? when you, I mean, what what if any like regrets or do you have or guilt do you feel or did you have to like work through?
You know, I think when you live okay, I think when you live in such a way that, like, you feel something so deeply in your bones, it's hard to regret it, right? So, like, I initially, I was like, "I should have reached out more. I should have
Mm,
this, I should have this." But at the time, I was just surviving, you know? Like,
of
10
course.
months sounds like 10 months sounds like a long time. It's not. Like, when your life has just been turned upside down, 10 months is a blip. So,
Oh yeah.
you know, regret, I mean, you know, when when he was going through rough periods, I drove him to therapy every day. I sat outside, I waited for him. I wrote checks, I paid the therapist, I found the therapist. I got him to see his doctor. He got on medication. I had all of his friends rallying around him. If I sensed a difficult day, I would call his friend, be like, "Can you call him? He's getting off the phone right now. Yeah, I think he's got off right now. Can you just call him and say, like, hey, how's it going?" And I would do this every day, all the time. I did everything. Like, and I know that, but like maybe the only regret I have that I can think of on this call, and I probably would think of something else, is when I had my first son, I felt for the first time what real love is.
Mhm,
Like, it was so apparent to me that this was the only truest love, and I just it was I was all about my son from that point.
mm,
And I think you know what? An outsider would probably say, "This is healthy now." You know? "This is
mhm.
healthy." And I'm used to tapering and bending until I almost break. But, like, when my
Mm,
son came, it was like, "No, I can't do that for you anymore. I have, like, a super vulnerable thing that I have to, like." And he wasn't in a place to be, like, that person. Obviously, he supported us, he worked really hard, that was never an issue. We always had a roof over our head, we always had everything, but, like, um I wish I would have spent a little more time with him in the evenings, you know, because,
mm,
like, as a new mom, and I'm sure, like, you growing up in a family, you understand that, you have nothing. You have nothing. Like, you're breastfeeding around the clock, you're, like, exhausted, and when they go to sleep, like, I remember I used to, like, crawl downstairs to just try and be a wife. Um, I wish I would have done it a little more. That's
mm.
really what comes to mind, you know? Do you have any
Yeah.
regrets when you look back?
Um, I think the only thing that I regret so I've it is a I think what's unique about it's interesting thinking like for me anyways, I like it's interesting thinking about the difference between just the male and female experience, I guess. And I think for me, like it's not regret. There's definitely things I have felt guilty about. I think I'm in a pretty good place with that. But I mean, maybe there's always another layer of the fucking onion to peel back. So something maybe you know what, maybe I'll find out I feel guilty about something else at some point. But um, yeah, I think it's just as a man, I think it's part of the process is reckoning with the fact that there are two women in my life that I could not save. And
Oh,
I logically and I
I
get it.
know,
Like,
I
logically, it
know,
makes all sense, but, I mean,
I
that's a
know.
thing,
I
that's, like,
totally
that's, like, the main thing I'm supposed to do, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whether that's culturally or biologically, whatever, I mean, so, I mean, there's that, but the one thing that the one thing that I regret actually is, um, was after Cindy died. So I was a total atheist, man. This is a whole nother topic. Uh, Total atheist at the time. And I think Chloe, I remember one time we were walking and uh just on the corner here, she asked me like, is mommy in heaven? I said, no,
I
she's not.
remember.
Yeah. And I think for me, like that's what I believed. But I also I just wanted her to I just wanted to be as real with her as I possibly what I thought was real, like, as it possibly could be, and I just didn't wanna give her any false hope, but what I did was I robbed her of or I imposed
Mm,
myself on, a little girl's grieving process, and that I don't that I really do regret that, but, and
yeah.
and the irony is I don't really believe that anymore, like, I'm certainly not an atheist anymore, so, I mean, yeah, it's an interesting yeah, but I mean, the thing is, I mean, life is long, right? We do our best. We screw up. I mean, and then we try to learn from the experiences for sure. So, I mean, how would you describe where you're at today?
Um,
How long ago was it when your husband
he
killed himself?
died September 23rd of last year.
Oh wow, yeah, that's not really
Yeah.
that long.
No, and on the 24th of November, it'll be 2 years since the like attack.
Mm,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. How would I describe where I am right now? I mean, I am I mean, my boys are my universe and I thank God for them every day because like I'm the luckiest person and what's so funny is my son is like, "Mommy, every mother says that." I'm like, "Yes, but I mean it. I really mean it. I really mean it." And he's like,
How old are
"Every
your kids?
mother means it." I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Mm. So, can I actually? I want to. Well, actually, I just tell me. Finish your thought there. There's something I want
I
to
mean,
chime
I am uh a little bit still in shock, a little bit still in denial. I haven't had closure. Um my husband's ashes, he died in Florida and his ashes are in Las Vegas and his parents blame me. And so I haven't like I am dying for the urn to be where it belongs, like with I mean, I shouldn't say where it belongs. This is their son, but my kid's father. You know what I mean?
Mm, mm,
I anyway. So to answer your question, I don't know. I don't know.
mm,
I don't know.
mm,
Um, I am deeply, deeply committed to helping my children thrive. And I spent a long time staring at walls. I just spent a long time staring at walls. And I don't know. I don't know. It's numb, shock, denial. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not angry, which
mm,
that's nice, but it's just all those things.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, I knew it was fairly recent. I didn't know it was that yeah, I mean, that's in the context of, this type of loss, I mean, that's nothing. One thing I was gonna say one of the things that, I want to say, I think you're probably more enlightened than I was, but, um, my I did not, uh, I did not understand the impact of childhood trauma when their mother killed themselves, and so I literally I honest to God believed that I could if we if we I remarried a wonderful woman, we built a new family that provide them stability and that I could love them to healing. And that is
Yeah.
not how it works, man. Not at all. And and it wasn't until I found out later that and I was actually reading a book I think it was by Oprah and a child psychologist or psychiatrist called What Happened to You when I started to read the impact of childhood trauma and I was like, "Oh my god, man."
Didn't I buy that because of you?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I bought it because of you. That's a great book.
Yeah.
But keep going. Yes.
No, just that just that I I don't know what the right thing to do is. I mean, I would have put them in therapy probably really, I don't know, like young. By the time we did it, Chloe didn't want to go. But yeah, I mean, it's, you know, yeah, there's, I think one of the gifts that has 100% the biggest gift that has come from this, especially the loss of my daughter is because there's always gifts, man, that come from any tragedy. Like, you have to I think part of the healing process is looking for them, And it's really
Mhm.
hard. It's really hard to look for a source of light when all you see is like fucking pitch black. But I mean, so it's humility because so my business. I have a few, but one of them is a dad coaching business. So me and some buddies, we just run like this mastermind program for dads and dads who own businesses, and we've been doing it for a long time, and it's really uplifting, like just and super enjoyable work. And but anyways, I started to. I think for sure I identify myself as like this dad expert, or whatever, or and I wouldn't say like I was. I don't know that I was like super like arrogant about it. It was just kind of part of my identity. Like I've been helping dads for a long time or whatever. So and and then when I was younger, I used to I used to judge other people's like when our kids were much younger. I used to judge other people's parenting all the time. Like, fuck, look
Mhm.
at how their kids are behaving. Look how they handle that. Well, you know what? Every one of those parents that I judged, their kids are still alive, man. You know?
Mhm.
And 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 I'm supposed to be this dad expert, and my daughter died drinking and driving, man, and she almost killed 4 people, like other people, like and so that dose of that was very identity disrupting, but in a very good way, and it gave me a much needed dose of humility, and one of the ways that plays out is I don't I don't I've given up on the idea, man, that I have a fucking clue what is best for somebody else. I don't
Oh,
have
yeah.
a clue what's best for you. I don't even know what's best for myself half the time. So, I mean,
Oh,
and I think
Jason,
just yeah,
I'm
of course.
so sorry to cut you off. I
Oh,
think
no,
my son woke up. Can you wait 30 seconds?
again,
Can you
yeah,
entertain? Give me just
I
2
can.
seconds. Sorry.
I can. So for anybody that's watching, please don't drop off. Like, please don't everybody drop off here because we're going to wrap up soon. And it's going to look really bad for me if there was like 75 people on here when Isabel was on, and then there's like 12 when she comes back 30 seconds later. So, but yeah, anyways, I'll just continue the thought. But yeah, I mean, so it was a much needed dose of humility because what happens is I used to think I knew what was best for everybody else, and I would make sure I told them that all the time. I was always an unsolicited advice dispenser. And then I learned some different skills and I started to maybe mature slightly. And then I would, if I was talking to somebody, I generally would not give them advice. Uh or try to tell them what to do or try to fix their problem. It was a real internal battle for me to fight the urge to do that. But after my daughter died and I got that much needed dose of humility, I don't think I don't even have to fight that urge anymore. So I just don't think I know what's best for anybody else. At least I can be more present, because I'm not fighting this internal battle of not telling them what to do. So yeah, that's kind of it. But now I'm going to start to flounder because I've finished my thought. But I am really enjoying this conversation with Isabel, I will say. So I just met her tonight. We've communicated a few times online, but we're both Canadian. So by the way, so she is, I live in London, Ontario, which is like 2 hours. It's actually right between Toronto and Detroit. And Isabel lives in Quebec. So I think she said 2 or 3 hours north of Montreal, which by the way, for anybody watching who's like hasn't been to Montreal, freaking amazing city. Absolutely amazing city. So it's like this beautiful blend of I'm hyping up Montreal right now. Hey, we actually so I said when you left, I was like, just please stay, because if there's like 75 people on here when Isabel is here and there's 12 on when she gets back 30 seconds later, that's not going to be good for my self-esteem. So
No, it's funny, my little one, he wakes up, he has, like, I don't know what it's called. He'll wake up and have, like, a little conversation and then just right back to sleep, but he needs me to just like guide him. And anyway, but no, oh man, where did we leave? I'm so sorry I cut you off.
Oh, that's okay. No, I was just talking about I was just talking about I actually
Oh,
finished the
being a
thought.
dad
Just,
expert. Being a dad
yeah,
expert.
yeah, like the gifts that come from tragedy, and because ultimately, one of the like the uh, gifts or abilities like that's just inherent in our humanity is the power to choose how we look at things. You know, so yeah, I mean, so I can look at that. Chloe's death is a tragedy. It always will be. I will always be a grieving dad, of course. But at the same time, like this sounds so crazy, and but it's actually true. And I don't want to make it sound heroic or anything because it's really not. But like, so when I found out, um, because my first wife Cindy's death ultimately, like I was saying earlier, like set my life on a very different trajectory. Again, deeply flawed, but I'm a way better person than I was.
Mm,
Like,
mhm,
and I had already experienced this, how loss can really lead to growth. It took me a long time, and it was certainly not a linear path. There was, I had to swim through an ocean's worth of like tequila and booze to get to the other side. But I already
mhm.
knew that like these significant emotional events can be a catalyst for growth. But so when the cop told me that Chloe was dead, like again, it was like literally being hit with a taser, man, just like complete, like like body just like short circuits. And I remember I said, "Oh God," like I don't know, 50 felt like 50,000 times. But anyways, I remember being on my hands and knees in the living room, and I just had this thought. It was so fleeting, but it was just like, I know this is going to make me grow as a person somehow. And then it was just like,
Uh,
just for a second, and then it was like overwhelmed with agony but it already happened. So I knew
uh,
somehow it would happen again, but, yeah, so
it's funny. I think I had 3 therapists right after the violence, um, just kind of helping me and guiding me, and the thing that I was really, really worried about from the get-go was, like, the first conversation I had with my lawyer, I was like, "How is he gonna spend time with the kids after what just happened?" Like, that's what I was
mm,
fixated on. I was so
yeah,
fixated on that because I was like, I couldn't sleep. I was a shell of a human. 'Cause I was like, "Am I gonna, like, park the car out and just, like, be up all night staring out the window?" Like, I'm like, because if he could lose his ability to, like eh, anyway, I was terrified. I was like, "I don't know how I'm gonna do this." And, I've had so much therapy. I started going to therapy when I was 21, around 21. I have, every book I have in my house is a self-improvement book. Like, that's my life. And something that I've had to come to terms with is that I didn't cause this trauma. It wasn't my fault, and I can't fix it for them. I cannot fix it for my kids. I can
mhm,
love them. I can give them everything to thrive. I cannot prevent where their life is meant to go. And that is the hardest thing to accept. Because all of my therapists were like, "You are trying to figure out what you can do to prevent the worst." Like, "Oh, because my dad saw this as a possibility, I can see it as a possibility for myself too," you know?
mm, mhm,
And this is like, I don't know, I've had to do some really, really, really deep, deep, like, work, and I'm not done. I'm not done. But my children are separate from me.
mhm.
They are separate from me. They have their own path, and all I can do is, like, see them and make them feel like they're not alone in this world, and be with them how they need in whichever moment, just being present, right? And I have to fucking accept that I can't control shit, and that is the hardest thing. out of all of this is that I've said to my therapist straight up, I'm like, if something, God, like, I don't even want to say it out loud. Like, you're like, I won't make it. Like, I just won't make it.
Mm.
And I'm so hyper fixated on that. And I was letting it control everything I did and said. Like, I can't get mad at them because what if, like, one day, like, they look back and they're like, what I really needed from my mom was this. And she, you know what I mean? I was making myself crazy because I was
They're
like,
gonna do
it's
that
almost like,
anyway.
yeah, for sure. Yes.
I mean,
But I was making it harder on
yeah,
myself.
yeah,
And,
for sure.
you can't, they're on their own journey. Like, just yesterday I was talking to my son and he was asking me how long his grandpa's gonna live. And he's like, I think he's gonna live till 102. And I said, that's great. And he goes, are you gonna be sad when your dad dies? I said, yeah, of course I am. I said, I don't know what it's like to lose a parent. And he
Mm.
said, it feels really bad. He said, I feel like I'm alive and everybody else is a robot.
God, what a friggin' description.
He said, everyone else is, and I looked at him and I said, you feel really different. And he said, yeah. And then my little one chimed in, he's 4, and he said, I feel like I'm the only one. And I said, you feel like you're the only one that lost your dad? Well, yeah.
Hmm.
And then I said, I don't know what it's like to lose a dad, but I do know what it's like to lose a husband. And that feels really bad too.
Mm.
And then he changed the subject. So, it's so insane. My eldest is not in school anymore. He stopped
Mm.
going to school because of severe separation anxiety. It just hit him like
Mm.
almost exactly 1 year after I told them that their father passed, couldn't go to school. And so I have social workers. I'm just working on what really is most important right now, his sense of security in the world but it's so hard. It's so hard. It's so
It
hard.
is, and I think when you think about it, like, so for a parent, you're right. I mean, one of the things that you have to accept is you do your best. You do ultimately everything that's in your power and that you think is the right thing to do to help your kids and to be there to support them. But especially as you get older, there are infinite variables that influence the trajectory of their lives that you have no control over, and the trauma they've experienced is one of those things. So, like, it's it is, but for a parent, I think it's for a kid who is grieving the loss of a parent or a sibling, let's say, um, it's it's a almost like a kind of like a self-centered grief because you're a kid, like you're young, you're only thinking of yourself, really. But when you're a parent,
Totally.
you're like you're feeling everything that you're like. So I think I'm reasonably good at like empathy without you know like I call it fusion, but like where I can empathize with somebody, but without like wearing it all day and having it ruin my life. Except for my daughter, that's the only person I cannot do that with. Like it's so painful to see her grieving the loss of her sister, and just like even today, it's like she has the flu. She's getting over it right now, but it's just like God can just
Yeah.
enough for this kid, man. Just fuck
Please,
enough.
please.
It's like, yeah. So, yeah,
Oh, man. I mean, I've seen that you guys are leading retreats together, which I think is such a beautiful thing.
yeah.
You've seen her, like, evolution through both losses. Um, like, I don't even know what my question is. Like, how is she doing?
I she's doing she's doing pretty well. I try not to actually. I don't like talking about her experience only because and it's not like she's like. If she was younger, I would talk about it. But I feel like anybody else's experience is not really my story to tell. But I will say that she is an amazing human being, and for someone who suffered so much loss, like she is, all things considered, doing really well. I think what is ultimately the journey for us all is, you know, after losses is ultimately it's facing what needs to be faced for as long as it needs to be faced in order to move past it. And for a younger person, like they're not, they don't want like if they just want to live their life, man. Like I think we all do, like, but they want to be they might I would think they have more of a tendency to try to manage their grief or their like rather than just sink into it and feel it, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's uh it's just a very unpredictable, painful journey, but also one that is, I think, very character building. And we wouldn't like another one of the gifts is I just met so many people. Like I wouldn't be having this conversation with you if
Right.
you know, like so there's I I think it's yeah, I don't know. It's just a I think you have many waves of grief ahead of you. You know, like
Yeah, I
and
know
it's just
that.
yeah, that's just part of how
Yeah, it when I told my kids that their father died, um, they went to school the next day.
yep.
Yeah, I was, like, preparing the school. I'm like, "We're probably gonna take a month off," like, you know? The next morning, they got up, they, had breakfast, they got ready, and, like, willingly, they're like, "We're going to school." I'm like and they went to school, and it just, like and throughout the year, I was like, "It's coming. It's coming." Like, this is not and I just had to kind of wait for it, and then boom, it just kind of hit, and that was the first wave. Like you said, there's many, many, many more waves to come, but yeah, so that's kind of how I feel about myself too. I'm like, "No," I'm like, "How can you? How can you fully, fully grieve when you have, like, your complete attention is on the 2 little lives that depend on you?"
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard for sure. For sure. Yeah.
I'm
Maybe one
gonna
of
look
those
at my Oh, go ahead.
well, I want to ask you, I can tell you it's getting close to my bedtime here, but I want to ask you if you like what's a if there's a lesson or like an important insight that you've had like through this experience that people listening might benefit from hearing, what do you think it is?
My first question is, like, related to which event? Like, which trauma? Which or all of it? Like, you just mean all of it,
Yeah,
like, where I
yeah,
am
sure.
today? Um, I think what I would say is wait and let grief change you. Like,
Mm,
wait, be very patient and wait because there's so much to learn, and it takes a lot of attention and space to be able to see it and hear it. Um, if you like, when this all happened and he died and everything, I went into like I talk about that a lot where I just would drop the kids off at school, just sink into my couch with my coat and just stare at the wall. And my therapist called it the integration stage.
mm,
And I would just stare. I just needed to be still and not move. And I think, there's the realities of life. People have to work, people have to do things, but just taking your time with grief and just let yourself be changed by it, because these crazy life events, you can't how can you be the same? Like
yeah,
we're never the same. We're always growing, we're always evolving, but like not to be so afraid of your grief, not to be so afraid of it, which is really hard to say because grief is a beast. But just not to be afraid of it and to be curious about it and to be patient with it? What about you?
yeah. Well, yeah, so on that it's funny, on that note, my wife was like, after Chloe died, she goes, "You're not allowed to make any big decisions for, like, 2 years," and she goes, "And just so we're clear, when we come up to 2 years, we're gonna reevaluate." So it got to like we got to 2 years. She's like, well, three. We're gonna call it three, and we're gonna reevaluate it at 3 years. So yeah, for sure. I think
Smart woman.
oh, very smart. Yeah. I think that the most important lesson that I've learned is the power of being intentional about the reality that we are boldly speaking into existence. So, the words we use don't describe our reality, they define it, right? So one of the things you hear people say all the time is, so I have a TikTok channel and there's all these comments from other grieving parents and people just say things, I'm permanently broken, like one,
Ooh.
etc. And and again, the thing is, um, you can be if that's I mean, and you do I will never judge you anybody. I mean, that's your choice if you wanna be that, but I think it's I look at it like instead of saying I'm permanently broken, I often use I think of it like that Japanese art of kintsugi, where they break the pottery and it's so you put it back together and it's different, but it's still beautiful. So, I've always remained an optimist. Like I even though there's been like some incredibly dark moments, there's been times honestly where since Chloe died, I mean, there's a few moments where I thought I was losing my fucking grip on reality, and I've never experienced anything like that, like in my life. But I've always remained an optimist. So, because I feel like I've been given this cross to bear, and I'm going to bear it, and I'm going to try to help people, along the way. And so, yeah, I mean, but I think it's like, I'll give you one quick example about the word. So, like, for example, when grief used to, when I, so what I used to tell myself, you just gotta let yourself fully experience grief and et cetera. Right. And I never liked that. I mean, I understand the concept, obviously, but it always felt too passive to me. And so I went to, this was the last story I'm going to tell, but it's such a good one. So,
It's not my bedtime. It's your
yeah, yeah,
bedtime.
yeah.
So I'm
All right, all
good.
right. Okay. So, I don't know if you ever read it, but the story about the jaguar in Costa Rica. So, I went down to a couple, like maybe 3, 4 months after Chloe died. I went to Costa Rica on this healing retreat. We did all this cool stuff, psychedelics, ketamine. It was like very powerful. One of the things we did was a sweat lodge. Like, so it was like this indigenous sweat lodge. And so basically the long and short of it is, I don't know if you've ever done one of these ceremonies, like, but it is ridiculous. Like how, like, I go to the sauna every morning and this is something different, man. And it's like it's horribly uncomfortable and you can't move. You're like crammed in there.
I
And so,
know.
and oh yeah, pitch black, like this guy like just drumming and spraying steam everywhere, red hot rocks. Anyways, so so he goes, before we go in, he goes, okay, and he made this very sound much more spiritual than I'm going to make it sound. But it basically like in this. So when you go to the ceremony, all kinds of shit's going to come up for you, right? It's the ceremony is going to show you what you need to see, basically. So because it's super intense and all that. And so he goes, look, in this part of the jungle, the jaguar is the apex predator. So if the jaguar is walking through the jungle and it's encounters something unknown or scary or uncertain or whatever, threatening, it doesn't turn and run. It stands and faces it. So so he goes, when you're in this ceremony, you have a choice, and you are absolutely free to leave anytime you want, or you can be the jaguar and face whatever needs to be faced. And so when I was in the ceremony, um, I was like, it was so uncomfortable. I was just like whispering, "Be the jaguar." But it was so impactful for me that I ended up getting this tattoo. I'll show you here. I ended up getting this tattoo to remind myself. So the idea of experiencing it was too passive for me. Like I didn't like it. But when I tell myself to, like, if a wave of grief comes over me, this is such a guy thing to do, but like I tell myself to like basically stiffen my spine and be the fucking jaguar, man, and just face it. And even though I don't actually do anything different, it's the words. The words resonate with me more. So what I ended up getting was I got this tattoo
Oh, wow.
of a yeah, of a jaguar. And just to remind myself, actually what's really funny, I'll tell you. So my daughter, she got oh, you got it. Sorry, okay. Yeah. So
Tell the story. It's great.
Yeah, so my daughter, in her grief, shortly after my other daughter, after her sister's death, got a tattoo, and she got all these date of birth and date of death tattooed on her, but she had her birth date, like she put the wrong year. She put 2004 to 2000 instead of 2003. She was not really upset about it, but when I got this tattoo, I got that same wrong date tattooed on my arm, just so we have that together. So that was pretty special. But yeah,
I
so there you go.
love that. I love that you did that. That's really beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, I love that. Be the jaguar.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
Well,
Well, I feel like I can talk to you for like 4 days in a row.
yeah,
Um, this was really fun, and,
let's do it again sometime.
I yeah, anytime. This is great. I hope other people benefited from this. These are hard topics, you know, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but, like, I feel so called to talk about it in such a raw, honest way, um,
Totally.
that yeah, I don't know, it just feels like the right thing to be doing right now.
Well, one of the things that you may have realized this already, but I wrote a book on vulnerability because when I started telling this, like telling more of what happened to me, this is with Cindy, like it was amazing what happened. Like I realized that we're all going through this world and we're trying to meet, you know, other people's society's expectations. Like we're presenting, an image we want the world to perceive us as. But when you actually just go first, like, and just admit that, like, I'm kind of fucked up right now, man, or like I'm struggling with something or whatever. Like, it's just part of being human. Like, we all do that. I mean,
Totally.
but what I realized is just being more open about that because I used to be the total opposite, man. Like, just alpha male, like nothing bothers me.
Mhm.
Um, but I realized we're always surrounded by people who are just friggin' waiting for someone to go first. Just go
You're
first, man.
That's the best thing I've ever heard. We're all just waiting for someone to go first, and you're 100% right because I've been like, when you've gone through something that just shakes every single cell in your being, it's like, I don't care if you know about my life, I'm just trying to survive, and in sharing what has happened, the stories that I've heard, everyone has a story, like,
Of course, yeah.
crazy, crazy things. Everyone's like, "Yeah, me too. This happened, and this happened, and this happened." And you're just like, "Oh my god," like, we're all just carrying these stories, and we're not alone, and so, you know, maybe that's what we're meant to do is share so that people feel, um, less alone in this, like, I don't wanna call it a burden, but, like, in this, trauma. I don't know. The word is escaping me.
Well, listen, I want to close out here by just showing everybody that's watching a very like a real world example. Because a lot of people have problems setting boundaries, so I want to show a real world example of setting a clear boundary. Isabel, I'm not fucking closing this call by doing 26 more squats. I don't care what you say. That is not going to happen. You can beg,
I was like,
you can
where are we going with this?"
ridicule me, but
Oh, no,
that's not happening.
before we got on the call, I was like, "What can he handle?" Because I know all kinds of crazy kriyas and things that are but I was like, "No, I think this is good." But no, listen, I'm so happy we connected and,
Me too.
Substack is a beautiful place and, yeah, I think what you're doing is amazing, and I think you're really brave, and let's chat again sometime.
I would love that. I would love that. All right, friend. Just so nice to meet you. Take care.
Take care, bye.